Let's look at another case. A container ship docked, expecting to replace part of its lashing gear, which was badly worn. But the chief officer found that the new equipment hadn't arrived. The agent said it would catch up at the next port of call. There weren't many boxes to load, so the chief officer concluded there was just enough serviceable gear to lash them satisfactorily. Predictably, more cargo arrived at the last minute. The lashing gang had to cannibalize some cast-off fittings to get the last few boxes secured.
This one is not good.
The chief officer was dubious.
I have a problem with those broken twist locks. I don't think we can use them on the containers.
But as the stevedore said, the weather was fair and the next port just around the corner.
Okay, it's no win. We'll do it just for one time.
But the fair weather didn't last. As the seas grew higher, the next port seemed a long way away. And where was the stevedore when the stow collapsed? The UK club finds that 50% of cargo damage incidents are a result of human error. Where did things go wrong in this case? There were failures of hardware and maintenance management. Error-enforcing conditions were present, and incompatible goals. There's no doubt it was a bad day for the chief officer. But what were the latent failures that made this an accident waiting to happen? Unless the right tools and equipment are available and in working order, you're inviting a failure in the category hardware. Maintenance that's delayed, missed, or poorly planned is guilty in many incidents where human error gets the blame. What makes an experienced, responsible chief officer load more cargo than he can properly stow? The answer is the error-enforcing condition that's an everyday experience: commercial pressure. He was so used to it, it simply didn't occur to him to refuse the additional cargo. That day, the chief officer learned 2 lessons the hard way. Commerce should never override good seamanship. And what suits people ashore won't always suit the ship. Far too often, human error leads to injury and death. A new able seaman on a ro-ro had little experience and less training. He'd paid cash for his counterfeit certificate. The boatswain already had misgivings. When a ballast tank had to be prepared for survey, he warned the newcomer to study the tank entry procedure and follow it to the letter. Unfortunately, all the procedures were in English, which the able seaman couldn't read. To save face, he improvised. Not expecting to be in the tank long, he posted a man at the entrance to keep an eye on him. It was a risk that didn't pay off. In less than a minute, the able seaman collapsed.
Adam? Adam!
Rather than follow him into a potentially toxic environment, the other man sensibly alerted the bosun. Hearing that the breathing gear hadn't been used, the bosun ordered him to fetch it. But that wasn't so easy. Access to the locker was blocked. Instead of waiting, the bosun went in, trying not to breathe. By the time the rescuers arrived, there were only bodies to bring out. The UK club finds that 60% of personal injuries are a result of human error, mainly the crew injuring themselves. Where did things go wrong in this case? There were failures in procedures, housekeeping, training, and defences. There's no such thing as a person who is accident-prone. Human error affects us all, without fear or favour. The able seaman was a newcomer. Lack of training and experience made him ignorant of the correct procedure. Not so the bosun. But experience can be your enemy if it makes you complacent about risks you're familiar with. Two very different men took the same action and paid the same awful penalty. If the latent failures had been spotted, it would never have happened. Good procedures are central to preventing incidents. The ISM code now requires all ships to have written procedures for every operation affecting safety. These must be available to the crew and in a language they understand. The bosun did well to point the able seaman toward the right procedure, but didn't confirm that he'd understood it, as the code requires. So much is made of safety management systems, it's tempting to see them as a substitute for thought. They're not. Constant vigilance is still required, especially when there are newcomers aboard. Equipment and systems that detect hazards, contain them, or protect us from them are called defences. Undermining these defences leads to loss, injury, and death. Yet the UK club's inspectors routinely find fire doors lashed back, life rafts hard to deploy, fire hoses, and lifebuoys missing. In this case, the breathing equipment was present and in working order, but not accessible when needed. Such failures in housekeeping can have costly and tragic results. If good procedures are central to preventing incidents, so are good seafarers. If the able seaman had known the ropes, the fatalities wouldn't have occurred. STCW 95 insists all crew are qualified. but that should be taken with a pinch of salt. No certificate is a guarantee of competence, still less experience. When you're manning sophisticated ships with smaller crews, cheap can be dear. Knowing that, prudent ship owners recruit the best manpower they can afford and make certain they're fit by using health screening schemes like the UK club's Crew Risk Management Programme.
Okay. Deep breathe. Deep breathe.
Careful officers confirm their staff's ability and develop their potential. People can be a vital asset or a liability. The choice is yours.